What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we're giving you state of the market and stock picks for August 3rd, 2022. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing, as I do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for that day in the week ahead in this phenomenal Taco Tuesday. So, being said, with everything going on, putting all the regular mumbo jumbo aside as far as rates, the Fed fighting inflation, which again, there's still continued cracks, there's still continued red flags that inflation is not coming down. Although you do see some other data that's very contradicting. Today, towards the end of the day, the dollar shot right back up. Oil shot right back up after some stuff starting to come down quite a bit, pulling back quite a bit. Everything pushed right back to the same levels. And on top of everything, the whole Russia or the whole China Pelosi thing is nothing new. This was getting built up over many, many months. The problem is that we don't really know what's currently going on. We know that Taiwan is one of the leading countries, essentially that leads in chip manufacturing, and they produce a large number of the chips in the world. Now, that being said, you're seeing a lot of different companies. You're seeing a lot of administration pushing hard on chips and trying to get chips passed so that way they can start producing chips in the U.S. But until that happens, it is a long process. And you have to understand that while they are doing that, we have a very high interest in Taiwan because of this, right? Everything is based, the shovel in which everybody's rushing to the gold mines with is chips. And we need to not let China take over Taiwan. And this is why the Chinese have been essentially flying over and doing a lot of different kind of almost scouting on Taiwan. And so there must have been some specific data that came out, or intel, whatever the case is. Again, now this is just my thesis on what's going on here. But you have to understand that coming into today, right, this was all planned out. There was no reason for Pelosi to go over there, but she's a high official, a high U.S. official. I think she's like fifth in charge or something like that. You're sending her over there. There's no humanitarian effort out there that needs to be had, right? That's what the U.S. is known for. So why would any other U.S. official need to be out there other than to protect our interests? And so, with everything being said, today was a very bold move on the U.S. To send Pelosi out there. I know it was all over the news. The radar in which tracked her flight there went down because so many people were watching her flight to see what would happen. It was getting tons of reports that China was clearing out airspace for any civilians, that there were jets flying in the sky. There was a lot of turmoil when she flew over there. Now, this is my thesis on why this is all happening. Yes, it is one of the biggest manufacturers of chips. So we do have to protect our interests, but we will not start a fight. So we're waiting. I think what is going on, we're in a big game of chicken between China and the U.S. One of them is trying to peg the other one to make a move. And once the other one pegs to make the move, then they're obviously going to go after it, is what's going to happen. Could potentially cause a war between the U.S. and Russia, or the U.S. and China. So with all that being said, making that move out there, you have to understand that, yes, there are a lot of cracks, right? Two negative quarters of GDP. We are in a recession. China is obviously getting the worst of everything right now. And so they need something to pull themselves out of recession. U.S. needs something to pull themselves out of recession. Things, I believe, are going to get extremely bad. You also had Fed members today talking about how inflation isn't going to just come down, that it's going to take a long period of time. And again, suggesting that yes, there's been tons of money printing. We've been giving billions of dollars to Ukraine. It seems like almost every couple of months we're giving billions of dollars to Ukraine. Not only that, but oil is out of control. Energy is out of control, and because of Russia and what's going on with them and their manipulation of the gas lines and stuff for the EU, and understanding we're tapping in oil reserves, and that's the only reason you're seeing the dip right now. But there has to be some bigger action taken, because unless Russia takes off that stranglehold, right, everything is going to go down, because Russia has been playing a cat and mouse game and chicken to see who can give up first. And they started it by starting this war and then having that grasp on oil. Now the US and Russia, they need some sort of catalyst to help get them out of recession, and understanding that things could, with the inflation rate in which it's going, things could get extremely bad. One of the best ways to get out of a recession is to have a war, because you are producing jobs, right? You're getting growth through jobs, right? You're allowing that circulation of jobs, because jobs actually came in. Job openings, the lowest in 9 months. That also came out today as well. So, as you can see, all this nonsense about how we're coming out of this and everything's gonna be fine. We're not in a recession, and blah blah blah. Well, I think we're waiting for China to do something so we can create a war in which we can pull both of ourselves out of recession. But it's more so who is going to make the first move. The U.S. doesn't want to make it. China doesn't want to make it, right? They don't want to be seen, because whoever makes the first move is considered the bad guy. And so neither one of them want to make that move. But by just sending Pelosi over there, it's kind of essentially toying with China, right? It's tempting China to do something. And now there's just a report that North Korea is considering that Russia or the U.S. is essentially breaking international affairs by sending Pelosi over there. And so we are spiraling out of control, in my opinion, very quickly. So we went from trying to fight to inflation to we need to essentially protect our interests, which isn't the first time we've done this, but trying to coax China to do something, make a move so that we can go to war. Right now, if that's true or not, a conspiracy or not, I don't know. I don't really care. That's just my opinion. It's just what I'm my thesis going into the day. And now we got this black cloud of inflation with something even more. Now, ultimately, in the long run, right, if you take emotions out of war and all that stuff, and you're looking at this at purely stock market and purely economy perspective, is actually really good for to help an economy get out of a recession, is by having a war. And so I think both countries know this. They're just waiting for someone to make the move, because they aren't going to make it, because they don't want to be the bad guy. So with all that being said, you may unsubscribe. I don't know. Maybe you'll subscribe just off of that. But nonetheless, this is what we got. So today, we need to hold this 4063 tomorrow. In my opinion, with the stuff that's going on with China, China's already talking about doing something. The U.S. expects China to do something after this move. And I know they did by sending her over there, right? It's just coaxing them to do something, and they will, right? I don't think they're just going to have take an international slap to the face and not do anything. But you never know. Nobody wants to have any kind of massive nuclear war or anything. And I know Putin's even come out and said that he doesn't essentially want nuclear warfare either. Do I think it would happen? No, I think with the way stuff is nowadays, it's easier to have a cyber war. Cyber wars are much more common as because you can destroy a lot more with cyber attacks than you can with anything else. So with all that being said, let's look at the market. So again, we are looking at this 4072 tomorrow. If we come below this, if something happens overnight and this gaps down, this thing can really start flushing. Again, if China does take any sort of action, we're going to potentially head straight down to that 36.36 and snap that, and who knows what's going to happen after that. Again, with inflation and everything, you're going to, the initial sticker shock will shock in the market, and the market will tumble from that. And then after that, once everything is gathered, once it happens, we've seen this with Russia and Ukraine. Once it's all kind of become the normal, the market just kind of does its own thing. It's the same thing with inflation, right? The market's getting to that point where everything is kind of just becoming the normal, so the market's trying to push back up. It's the same kind of thing that's going to happen with this, right? You're going to get that initial tumble. If we do go to war, and then once we get traction and it becomes the normal or ends quickly, whatever the case is, that is going to cause the market to start pushing up, because then you're going to start getting growth because it's creating jobs. And again, that's a horrible way to create jobs, but to get out of a potential global depression is what we could be looking at, right? Now, depression is prolonged, essentially recession is what it is. So if we continue to have recession, we could lead into a depression, and the best way to get out of that is to start a war. So again, there's been a lot of red flags. There's a lot of stuff saying we're in a recession. You don't even have to say it's 2 negative quarters of GDP, right? You're seeing it in all the other numbers. The numbers they're not really pointing out and making you look at. They're pointing out other stuff that doesn't make any sense, right? Core inflation, yeah, we don't really take food into consideration. Yeah, well, if you have to feed everybody in your house, that is costing more than to go out and do entertainment stuff, you can cut off the entertainment. And so that's going to draw demand down because you got to buy necessities. And then this is what happens. So with all that being said, we'll see what happens tomorrow, but I think we're going to potentially head back down again. If that's the case, that would be essentially a higher low from here. So we'll see if we head back down to 36.36. Again, I don't think there's any kind of catalyst that's going to make a shoot up. AMD had bad earnings. What else? Airbnb, bad earnings as well. There's a couple of them that had bad earnings. I'm not going to really talk about Bitcoin too much. It's going to play along with the markets. Again, oil sitting back at 93. It was up to like 95, I think, not too long ago, actually. And then the dollar is still sitting on 106. So the dollar spiked again. You can see this, the dollar pushed up again. Massive rip on the dollar. Again, when there's fear back in the markets, that dollar is going to rip that right back up. Same with oil, crude oil and everything as well. And wheat. Wheat hasn't done anything. Gold selling off. Bitcoin holding 23. I said Bitcoin can hit up to about 27, I think. Then I think it could start flushing again from that point. But we'll look at Tesla. Let's just look at the basics here and see what's going on again. So as far as Tesla is considered, it's really having a tough break at this 920. Normally, this is what Tesla does after a nice run. What it will do is it will continue to try to break the ceiling. And if it can't break it, like tomorrow, we might get another test. And if it still can't break it, it means the market's about ready to turn over. And that's what this is looking like. You had 2 days attempting to try to break roughly somewhere around between that 922 and 925. I was really struggling to break that. Let's see if it can break it tomorrow. If not, I think the market could potentially turn over at that point. Now let's look at Apple. Apple's also been a very strong one for tech. I had that nice pop for earnings, and then it's just kind of holding, ready to potentially turn over. So again, its ceiling is roughly sitting around that 163 mark. Again, if it reattempts and gets rejected, soon enough you're going to have we get a bad day on Friday. Could potentially cause that again, unless we start a war overnight or in the next couple of days. China retaliates some way, shape, or form. Then we could start selling pretty heavily. So we got to watch that. BA value started to sell off pretty heavy today. I think there were some other value stocks I was just looking at. Airbnb just had some bad earnings. It just completely tanked. Cat is the other one I was looking at. Like there was another one I was looking at earlier today, and it is starting to sell off. It gapped down pretty heavy and continuing to sell pretty heavy today. Again, a lot of forward guidance on these things is not looking good. And so that's the problem, where the supply is extremely high and they can't sell anything because there's no demand. So to think that you could just sell demand, you're taking a loss trying to do that, discounting everything to get stuff off the shelves. You can put new stuff onto the shelves, right? For seasonal stuff. It's really going to hurt the business bad. And so we're starting to see a lot of that stuff across the value stocks. We've been talking about it for a while. So now like, where did this come from? I guess it's true what they're saying, kind of thing. And then now it's you're starting to see the downfall of it. And now add the Russia Pelosi or the China Pelosi spin to the mix, and this is what you get. So the banks, JP Morgan just been kind of just floating. GS again starting to give way. It did hit that 200, so technical wise it should be pulling back at least to the 317. Again, if it breaks that, then we're just going to head back down. But banks are starting to show their first signs of weakness today too, which is something we haven't seen. We had a lot of consolidation, and today looked like it could potentially start showing signs of weakness. And if it can't hold 32, it's going to be a problem. Means we're going to start coming back down again. Why you can't watch these breakouts just have not been working. We've just had too much going on. There's just too much in this current environment that is really bad, and it's starting to catch up with everything. You can only talk your way out of a bag so many times before it really starts to flush. So that is pretty much what I got. I don't really want to go into too much. Tomorrow's going to really matter on how we open and what goes on with the whole scenario in Taiwan, with Pelosi going over there, and with China potentially retaliating. And now that North Korea wants to get a piece of it, that could potentially be some big trouble over there. So we will see. Take it day by day. Again, it's something I've been talking about even with the inflation stuff, but the inflation is continuing to rise and will continue to get bad, and we need something to fix it. And then when we fix it, then we can go from there. So with all that being said, go ahead and drop a like button because you made it this far. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.